Howdy, howdy. We are live on a Friday night with one last deep dive discussion on an episode of Strange New Worlds for the year. But a big show tonight. We got a season finale, which normally means there's going to be a lot to unpack. So without further ado, I think we should go ahead and get started. But I'm joined by some lovely Trekkies who went on the Strange New Worlds Season 3 journey with me. And we're about to introduce ourselves. I'm Fathery.
I'm Joel.
I'm Miss Taylor.
And this is Tex-Trek.
Engage.
Welcome back aboard the Starship Texas for the 347th installment of the Tex-Trek podcast, the home of Star Trek fandom from deep in the heart of Texas, where we take a deep look at Star Trek, old and new. And tonight we are discussing the Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 finale, New Life and New Civilizations, written by Dana Horgan and Davy Perez, and directed by Marja Vrvilo, whose name I probably always pronounce differently, but they've been a director on Star Trek since at least Disco Season 2, maybe Disco Season 1. But big show, a season finale. That always means we have a lot to go over. So I want to dive into that in real quick in just a second. I need to apologize. I know I promised a lot of folks that Dave would appear on the season finale. This is the first season of Strange New Worlds I covered without him. We typically do those deep dive discussions, just me and him. And this season, he didn't show up for any of them. It seemed he bit off more than he could chew, and didn't think he could binge through half of the season this week. And also, like, he really just was not having a good time with Strange New World Season 3, and kind of, it sounded like didn't want to sit and binge watch it and catch up. So it's kind of a shame. I think there's some stuff in the later half of the season he would like, but he did promise to me. He said he promised that he would show up next week when we will be talking about the first two episodes of the Star Trek Con audio drama. So I'll mention.
Did you get that as a pinky promise? Did he give you a pinky promise about it?
No, he promised in a DM. So for all I know, it was someone else who was like stolen his phone, and he's been dead for like 2 weeks, and it's just someone else messaging me. So yeah, so apologies about that. But we have Joel here as substitute Dave. So.
Yeah, that's me. That's my lot in life.
But yeah, I missed talking.
Too bad.
Star
I was
Trek
looking
with
forward
Dave.
to hearing Dave too. But
yeah, there's a lot of things I want to ask him, but
maybe you can have a special episode later, like when post-con, pre-academy, like a chat with Dave about Strange New World Season 3 Gorn.
We will do a Season 3 retrospective at some
eventually.
point. That probably won't be until we're close to Season 4 next year, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But let's move on. Before I go any further, I want to give a big thank you and shout out to the wonderful Tex-Trek Patreon supporters. Thank you so very much. Starfleet Sohel, Cake is Eternal, Crizzy Dutchy, Joanne Robertson, John Daw, Geek Filter, Quarkspar, Matthew Averett, Braxton, Chuck A., Joel Vallis, Arthur Lamoureux, our associate producer Chris Garris, Dave Farabee, Dave A. Gregory, Joe Saporito, Wanda Valentine, and our anonymous supporters. I just want to remind everyone we do monthly watch parties with our patrons. You can come in as little as $2 a month to get into those. The next one is scheduled for next Saturday, September 20th. We're watching the TNG episode Frame of Mind, when Riker goes crazy and he's not sure if he's a Starfleet officer undercover, if he's in an alien insane asylum, or if he's in one of Bev's weird plays she likes to put on in the Enterprise Community Theater. So that'll be Saturday, September 20th. I know we normally do those at 3:30 p.m. Central, and I said that previously. This one would be at 3:30, but I'm asking if everyone could bear with me, and let's adjust that to 3 p.m. Central on Saturday, September 20th. We need
I
to.
took the day off.
That's good. We need to wrap that up a little early because a old high school classmate of mine called me the other day and asked me if I would go to our class reunion. So I'm gonna be doing that on September 20th. So. No, it's not a football thing, Jill. She's in the live audience asking if it's conflicting with football, but that watch party will be at 3 p.m. Central next Saturday, September 20th. And as I mentioned a moment ago, next week we will be covering the first 2 episodes of the Star Trek Con audio drama. The first episode came out this week on Star Trek Day, September 8th. And I really like it. Spoilers for some of the things I'll be discussing next week. Episode 2 will be out Monday. It's coming out every Monday. And if people show up and watch or listen to our show, talk about that show, we'll continue to cover it. I'm not really sure if a lot of people are going to show up for an audio drama. It's kind of a new experiment for Star Trek. I know they did that Star Trek Picard 7 and Raffi thing a few years ago, but this seems to have like a lot of budget and a lot of for like a audio thing, but a lot of promotional effort going into it, and some big talent behind it, with Nicholas Meyer coming up with the original story for Khan, and then being written by 2 of the best Star Trek novelists ever, with Kirsten Beyer and David Mack. So David Mack, who we've had on Tex-Trek, who we've had on the show. So really looking forward to seeing where that goes. So we'll be doing that on Fridays. The other weird thing, I know I feel like I'm throwing so many weird things at people.
It's the day for it.
But we are considering doing a little experiment with the time of the live shows. So if you're not someone who shows up live on Fridays at 7 p.m., which we've been doing for years, then this doesn't really affect anything. But the people here now, the people who showed up for the Strange New World season finale deep dive discussion, I'm just curious what people would think about if we did move our show to earlier and Friday afternoons. I think we would be able to cast a wider net and, appear in more people's time zones if we were streaming in Friday, like early, maybe around like noon or 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. my time in the central time zone. So I wanted to propose a poll. Give me 1 second to get this figured out. But I'll have to retype that poll that I already had typed up ready to go. So I'll get that in there. But yeah, I'm just curious. I just want to poll people and ask if they would still be able to attend on Friday afternoon. So keep an eye out for a poll that's going to pop up in the chat in a moment for the people that are live. But with all that out of the way, I think we're ready to go ahead and get into talking about this season finale, New Life and New Civilizations. Starting off, I just want to recap this by reading the official synopsis and then expanding on that with spoilers. The synopsis reads, when an ancient evil resurfaces, Pike faces a life-altering choice to stop it. And yes, the ancient evil that reappears is, no surprise to anyone, the Vesda set up very obviously in season 5 to come back. So, made it to the season finale, hadn't seen them again. Pretty obvious that they're what this episode was going to be about. But Gamble himself is in a reconstructed body from the Enterprise transporter. He has a cult following him, stabbing their eyes out, getting ready to become possessed by these Vesda entities. And fortunately, Battelle is able to, thanks to all this weird therapy and genetic manipulation she's undergone this season, she's able to evolve into like the ultimate evil fighter and is able to actually become the beholder, the sentry that stood guard over all the Vesda on Vadia 9, that weird frozen statue we saw. Turned out that was Batel all along, and they set up that sometimes the cause comes after the effect, and that's what we got here. And Batel has to part ways from Pike to stand guard over the ultimate evil, but also gives him an inner light slash It's a Wonderful Life slash The Last Temptations of Christ kind of a vision of a perfect happily ever after life with her, before revealing, like, well, that was all a dream and now I have to go. And that's the end of the season. Oh, there was like some mind meldy stuff with Spock and Kirk. So, all of that out of the way, Joel, why don't you go first, followed by Taylor, and then me? But let's just each give our opening statements and say our broad thoughts on the episode before we get into the episode breakdown.
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, it's sort of odd because, yeah, you can talk about it as an episode and then sort of the finale of the season. And then obviously they set it up to be, if you don't get a season 4, this could be the end. So it's a little strange that way. It was good. And so it's a little rushed in parts is my really only complaint, but that's because they shoved a lot in with the having to do I really like the future life of Pike Batel, but that took up like 15 minutes, I think. So it's foreshortened the rest a little, which is fine, but it made it a little weird. But I really like that. It's kind of odd, but I like how they do that. And then, let's see here. And it's kind of like the superhero origins of Batel. This is how she gets superpowers and can sit and be the cork on top of the Vesda for eternity. And I can only assume that temple thing they went into just transport them. It's not really there. It's transports, because at the end they're just sort of in some weird cosmic thing in the middle of
between
space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the thing in the other Star franchise.
Yeah, it does. I brought that up too. I was like, oh.
But that looked good there too, so it's okay.
Yeah, 'cause that's like one of my favorite parts of the other franchise. So I was like, hey.
It's really good. That part's good, yeah. So yeah, I guess that pretty much sums up my initial thoughts. How about you, Miss Taylor?
I originally really struggled with this episode and only liked it on rewatch, really. But the first time I was cringing very hard the whole time. And I think it is a lot of the like love solves all, like Band-Aid fix, problem solve that feels very like, I don't know, like Disney and like rinse and repeat to me. And so I was kind of disappointed for that to come into this episode a lot. But I really enjoyed the flashback or flash forward, like kind of, inner light vibes, 10-15 minutes of Pike and Batel's life. The first time I saw it, I didn't really understand what was happening and I was just a little bit frazzled, I think. I didn't think I really understood what the goal was with this episode. And so on rewatch, I was like, oh, this is actually so good. That's like my favorite part of the episode. It kind of gives a little bit of that finality to Pike's demise that we know about. It's like, oh, well, at least he got to have this whole life with Batel, so I thought that was really smart of their part to kind of give them their own little teeny tiny sliver of time, in this episode that actually could, make Pike feel more relaxed about, his inevitable 10-year destiny fate, right? So I think it was all really good with wrapping up the characters and having everything in line for the next the next season. But yeah, it was interesting to see how the season 3 ending really did feel more like a series finale than just a season finale. So yeah.
Well, for me, there was a lot of weird kind of wonky stuff in this episode, but also a lot of like really strong emotional moments that I think really connected and were effective. So I guess I'm a little mixed on the episode, but definitely more positive than negative. I I just like there's a lot in this episode that makes me scratch my head, and if I watch it with like the Spock on one shoulder and a McCoy on the other shoulder, like the Spock side, like the brain, intellect, like intelligence side of things would be like, okay, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That's really weird. But then, like the Dr. McCoy, like the more compassionate, bleeding heart, more like a emotional side of me is like, oh my God, that is so beautiful. That is so sad. I really bought into like the Pike and Battelle stuff. So ultimately, this season finale, it feels a lot like season 3 to me, where it was a very rocky season, but it did have like some genuine moments of heart that I guess at the end of the day, that's what stuck with me more than anything else. I thought like the Kirk and Spock stuff there was stuff in that I found both like frustrating and really weird, but then there was stuff that's like, oh man, I love this so much. It reminds me of that Shatner and Nimoy energy. And just the whole like Battelle culmination of her story, I think was a little whack with some of the writing and some of the plotting, but I did ultimately care about Battelle so much more than I ever had before in seasons 1 and 2. And I knew that her story would be coming to the end at this season. I feel like that was pretty obvious. Especially that this really does feel like it was written as it could be. I know a lot of people have been saying this, and Joel mentioned it, but it did feel like it could be a series finale. But like, there's one exception. There's one weird thing dangling that I think would have been weird if this was the end of the show. But it definitely feels like that was a something the writers thought was possible when they were at least breaking the story, and maybe like when they finished it. I don't know, but. I know that's also something the Strange New Worlds writers room has said. They do try to write every season of 10 episodes with keeping in mind that if this were the only 10, if this was going to be like the last season, what stories would we tell? Obviously they made an exception for Hegemony Part 1. Maybe they felt pretty confident about season 4, but they still wanted to, cap a lot of things off here. But this really does call back to the first episode, not of season 3, but also the first episode of the entire series, going all the way back to, like Battelle mentioning when she encouraged Pike to shave his scratchy beard and some other stuff like that. So it really did kind of bookend the show as if it was going to be a series finale. But it at the same time sets up for the story to continue in seasons 4 and 5. So a lot of having your cake and eating it too, which was the whole thing with Pike getting to have the happily ever after, even though like not really with Battelle. So. But I'm ready to go ahead and dive into the episode breakdown. We're going to run through this whole episode beat by beat, starting with the opening. Battelle is leaving the Enterprise. She's going to take over Starfleet JAG on Earth. They say that the Enterprise is taking her to Earth. And we also get the return of Gamble on this new planet, Sky Galwin, on an actual strange new world. What, Joel?
He's got a mask.
Yeah, I liked that mask. Let's talk before we get to the Sky Galwin stuff. Let's talk about the surprise away party that Pike throws for Battelle. We kind of get to see everyone having a good jolly time at the beginning of the episode before the serious stuff hits. But I liked the Scotty being the latest victim of the captain's table prank they like to play on this ship, and I also liked the yoga reference of Pike talking about how yoga can bring down the strongest of men. That was on my 2025 bingo card. I'm supposed to try yoga at some point this year. I still have 3.5 months to get around to it, but
there you go.
What do y'all think of the surprise away party?
Oh, I really liked Uhura's her gloating moment where she's like, haha, like she's finally in on the joke, because the last time we saw this was when she came to the party over. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really fun to get to see her on the other side of it, And also I wanted to point out all the outfits in this scene in the
Yes.
captain's table are so good. I really enjoyed all of them. They are so specific. Like they do such a good job with dressing this cast all the time. Like I feel like I never have a complaint on their outfits. Sometimes their hair, but outfits amazing always.
Yeah, we've come a long way with our Star Trek civilian clothes. I'm not saying like everything the Kurtzman era does is better than the Berman era, but the civilian clothes sure as hell have gotten
Yeah.
way better.
the
I
movies.
love Ortega's shirt. I think that's my favorite one of this outfit, where she's got the green like lines that are kind of like puffy and stuff. It's very unique, and I really enjoyed that one the most out of this scene.
I like Juz Bush in the green, but maybe
Yeah, that one's also really beautiful.
Una in the white that caught my eye. Yeah.
But Scotty in the kilt, like one day this boy is gonna put on this skirt for Abraham Lincoln. So it's
True.
It's cool to see.
And they kept the same pattern, so yeah, it's very good.
But this is where Spock mentions Kali Ketchnus. Is that how you say it?
Kelly Kachna.
I could read.
Yeah, Kali Ketchna. But some of the weird Vesda, I guess, dialogue that it didn't stick with me. I didn't realize I was supposed to remember this, but maybe they could have come up with something a bit more memorable. But it turns out that's the same name of a city on this planet, Sky Galwin. So Roger Corby is there trying to learn the secrets and mysteries of the Vesda. What do y'all think about like the look of the planet Sky Galwin and their
It looks
holy
amazing.
temples?
Yeah, I mean, this was in the trailer, and it looked amazing then. And
yeah, I can see why they stuck it in the trailer, even though it's from the last episode of the series, which you normally don't want to show too much of. But the one big criticism I've seen a lot of people have of Strange New Worlds, and I didn't really feel it at first, but I'm starting to now, is that I really want them to go to more planets that have like societies living on those planets. Like in the very first episode, when they go to that Kylie planet, and we meet like that society who lives there, and we learn about those people and how they live and stuff, and we get a taste of that here with Sky Galwin. But it's something I hope the show does more of in the remaining 16 episodes. What do you think of Sky Galwin, Taylor?
I think it's very beautiful, very visually pleasing. I think Strange New World's just such an aesthetic show. Like if they fail at everything else, like at least they have that going for them. And
it always looks gorgeous.
It looks gorgeous. And the diamond-shaped like temples are just so unique, with like that thin sliver where the temple like actually is. Like that's such a cool design to think about, like being floating above the planet and being able to like look out through those viewpoints, kind of like skyscrapers. But it's so beautiful. And I love, again, the costumes, amazing. Like the civilians of this planet look like beautiful. Like they're so colorful and they're so ornate. And whenever the Starfleet team like goes down, or when we see Corby on the planet, like they kind of stand out. But it's just such a beautiful planet. Like the culture seems very rich there. So I wish we even got more than what we did in this episode of just this planet.
And then things start getting a little dark and scary when the Enterprise crew they mentioned that they're going to be doing like a lot of maintenance, as they're taking Batel back to Earth, and they're kind of like recovering from season 3. It sounds like they're like, it's been a rough few months. But Scotty, Chapel, and Mbenga notice some weird things with the sickbay transporter, and at the same time they're looking at that, Corby on Sky Galwin, he's finally allowed into the sacred temple by the high clerics there who worship the Vesda as gods. And he's like, oh, this is kind of scary. That guy, Gamble, who got possessed by one of these evil deities, is now kind of lording around as a cult leader with this like scary mask and weird getup, and which did look kind of cool to me. I thought that was like, oh, that is something like kind of unique and neat that we hadn't seen in Star Trek before. But they reveal that like, oh, that there is something weird going on with the Enterprise transporters, that he was like rebuilt piece by piece. but I love that when Gamble sees Corby, he kind of taunts him. He calls him the man who wants to live forever, which we know is like the obsession of Roger Corby that will lead him to his android fate and what are little girls made of.
He gives up his Irishness in his pursuit. Yeah.
He trades in the Irish accent for a New York accent.
Sad.
I was really surprised to see Gamble's actor again. That actually was like a shock to me when they were doing the recap and they brought up his face even, and like a lot of the Vesda stuff. Like obviously he's the Vesda in that episode, so we see him, but I wasn't expecting to see him again as the Vesda. Like I was thinking, oh, the Vesda would take another body or something. So it was really interesting to see that he recreated Gamble to reuse him on this planet, you know? So I was surprised when he like turned around and I was like, oh, we get this actor again. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't know they were setting him up to be final boss. So even like I predicted pretty early on, I was like, okay, this guy is either going to be a bad guy or he's going to die because they're trying way too hard to make us like him and show that all these characters like him. And then I guess like both came out to be true in episode 5, but then here, you know, the season finale, he's the final boss of season 3.
Yeah, and he gets a final boss outfit, so which looks intimidating, great.
And the Enterprise sets a course to Sky Galwin because Corby has I guess he sent them like the emergency signal and then stopped replying, so they think that he's in danger, but they see that Nurse Gamble had been beamed to Sky Galwin doing like weird stuff with the transporter that Spock wouldn't have thought possible, but it apparently is. So they kind of explain like the interdimensional stuff that the Vesda can do to move across the universe. So, but let's talk about like the mission to Sky Galwin. Let's talk about like the stuff on the Enterprise first, and then we'll talk about like the away team on the planet. There's that conversation between Pike and Battelle when she's punching the... I don't know if we've ever seen this before. I think this might have been the first time they showed it, but the punching bags in that workout room on Strange New Worlds, they're like floating there. They like the CGI wire remove, whatever cabling is like holding them
didn't
up.
even notice that. I was just watching it.
Yeah, I didn't notice either. That's interesting.
So I'm not sure that was money well spent.
Has anyone else pointed that out?
I have not heard that anywhere.
I haven't.
You're right.
Kept up with anyone else's coverage of this episode. I haven't listened to any podcast or watched any YouTube videos on it yet. So I'm wondering how long that's been a thing, because I know I never noticed it until this week.
Yeah, because I think when they've been fighting in there in the past, it's always been each other, kind of like Pike holding his hands up and she's punching him.
We've seen M'Benga beat up a punching bag, right? That happened at some point, right?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think I've seen the punching bags before, but I've never noticed because I'm always looking at the deltas and all the gloves and you know, focus point things and
looking at the swag.
I'm mostly looking at and the weapons, the background.
Well, we get this conversation between Battelle and Pike, and she talks about like feeling compelled to stop the Vesda, and that she's being pulled towards something, and they have this talk about destiny where Pike he no longer believes that his fate is written in stone, that Battelle has convinced him that things might not be as predetermined as he seemed that he once accepted earlier in the show. And we have a science lab conversation. So the set did appear in like all 10 episodes of season 3. So now the question is, will it be in the remaining 16? No engineering in this episode. I really miss that Strange New Worlds engineering set we've not seen since the Gemini Part 2. Hopefully it comes back in seasons 4 or 5. But they're trying to determine how Gamble got to Sky Galwin, like I was mentioning. See, this is where the episode just starts. Let's just make up something weird to get us from point A to point B. But
it's just not something in space normally. It's something on Earth, because this is something you can read about in like witchcraft and occult books.
The ley lines.
Like, ley lines, yeah, like connecting Stonehenge with some other mystical place.
With like the pyramids or so.
Stuff like that. And then where they cross, they're like, oh, that's a super spot. You should go there and do super magic. I don't know, but this is the first time I've seen it in space. So
It is it's like a weird pseudoscience-y thing that has been used in a lot of pop culture fiction. I guess not so much recently, but it came up more in the 20th century than in the 21st century. But,
If you were watching a 60s witch movie, they'd bring it up for sure.
If we're ignoring what they call it, what it really reminded me of is like the Borg passageways from like Voyager, like near the end.
Transwarp conduits.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what it really reminded me of because I didn't know what ley lines were before this, because I'm not,
You did not study the
out of my scope.
You haven't seen enough 60s witchcraft movies.
No, not at all.
Say stuff in a vampire accent every now and then, like Pelia does. So.
But it's a very convenient thing for the show to just pull out of its ass, in my opinion. When just Scotty is like, "Oh, what do you call those things?" and then Sam Kirk is like, "Ley lines." Yeah, those are a real thing. But
he says some funny shit in this too. Like Sam is like, "Yeah, I know of that." Like about about the evil stuff. He's like, "Yeah, I know that there's real evil out there." Like it's such a funny. Like he's out here just like trying to give his weight to like a conversation. It's like, Sam, come on.
I'm an anthropologist, I swear.
That's his version of the Kirk confidence, I guess.
Exactly what that is. Sorry to interrupt.
I do like how Pelia calls it a busless bus lane, though. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like building on what Scotty said, right? Yeah. It's like a bus route, but it doesn't require the bus. But yeah, basically the Vesda had the technology to use interdimensional folding of space to instantly travel, but they had to go on like there's certain lines across the galaxy that they would travel across. But yeah, it's kind of like the mycelial network or transwarp conduits or a bunch of other things. So just I kind of wish they had like set this up more earlier in the season, and I would have had it. But I've been saying it for like 10 weeks straight, but just the writer's strike, I think, really made this season more underwritten. They didn't have as much time to script this stuff.
Maybe there'll be cutscenes on the Blu-ray that make it make sense, like Joe was saying in the comments. But
the other convenient thing is that the Farragut now has both of her nacelles reattached and is close by and is able to come help. Which I like because I love Paul Wesley's Kirk showing up in the show. I know that's a very controversial opinion, but I love this guy as Kirk. I want to get as much of him as I can out of these remaining 16 episodes.
I love him as Kirk too, and I was excited to see him in this episode. But when he did show up, I was like, of course, of course they brought him back for
it's the finale. Yeah, I knew Kirk was going to be there.
Yeah.
I guess
we did see the ship. We did see the Farragut.
They introduced him in the season 1 finale, but that was like alternate timeline stuff. This is the first time he got to be like pivotal and important in the story and like a big like beginning of season or end of season episode. That's in the actual prime timeline. But let's talk about the actual landing party on the away mission. They all put on these undercover disguises, which I guess they just needed to not appear Starfleet officers. Yeah. They said the Sky Galwin planet, they're pre-warp, but they engage with trade with intergalactic species through the Orions. So which is interesting.
They have floating diamonds and transporters. I mean, it's not like I just don't think they care about warp drives. So.
Yeah, I guess it's not a prime directive violation for Corby to show up on this planet, but I don't really understand why.
We were talking about that in an earlier episode, weren't we? And then
in 4.5 Vulcans, it's like these people don't know about anyone other than Vulcans, so only Vulcans can show up. But here, I guess if the Orions had already like spoiled to the Sky Galwin population, like, oh look, there's these people called humans from Earth. They're part of this thing called the Federation. Is it okay then? Or maybe it just like they had contact with them like pre-prime directive. But in the original series, there are some pre-warp civilizations that we definitely see engaging in intergalactic trade, like in Friday's Child and Mirror Mirror and several others. So I think there's like some gray area there. I kind of like them not being afraid to dabble with that. I would appreciate a little bit more clarity. But what do y'all think of La'an's Vulcan neck pinch she does on the guards to get them into the temple?
It's fun. It's kind of weird, but I'm not sure if it's because she was a Vulcan or she's just all that tangoing. Just let her, do the Vulcan neck pinch better. But
That's a great point. Is like, has Chapel even tried doing the Vulcan nerve pinch since she was
maybe
a
not.
Vulcan? Maybe she would understand it better if she tried again now.
I
But
guess if you date Spock, you spend a lot of time. It's like, okay, this is great and all, but can you teach me the Vulcan neck pinch? And
that's the only perk of the relationship.
Okay.
One of the pros.
He kicks them to the curb when they can't do it. No, I don't know.
That's funny.
I thought it was cute when Chapel was jealous about like, oh, you were able to learn to do that, and she wants to like nerd out about it. Like, can you tell me about your thumb placement?
Yeah, that was cute.
I don't know why Chapel felt the need to color her hair though, or put on a wig or whatever but she has like this auburn colored hair instead of her normal blonde hair.
I think just to blend in a little more, like, the white blonde hair is very stand out, and a lot of people in the background there like have like brown and red hair, so it kind of makes sense to like.
But there's also like
sneak around, you're less obvious.
There's green-skinned Orions walking around too. I don't think they're gonna like bat an eye at some blonde hair, but
maybe. I was thinking it was just a more neutral color, so they were just thinking like she'd blend in easier. Like if you're not trying to draw attention to yourself, maybe that's a reason.
But she's reunited with Roger Corby, who, when I'm watching this episode, I'm like, why is Gamble keeping Corby alive? But we eventually learn it's like, oh, he was trying to get these people here, and one guy in particular. But he's doing his cult leader thing. He's getting everyone to stab out their eyes. Another thing to watch on Paramount Plus. But Taylor and I recently watched the movie Event Horizon, which has some similar cosmic horror vibes as Stranger World Season 3. I brought that up,
I think, during that episode, because
yeah.
Also has a lot of eye violence.
Eyeless Sam Neill is very iconic.
So hard to watch, honestly.
I love the movie. I haven't watched it for a while. But
the eye gouging is extremely gross to me. It's I think a very easy one to like imagine, I think, because it's so I don't know. For me, that just seems like such an easy thing to like imagine getting stabbed in the eye and losing your eye. Maybe it's not. But extremely gross.
It's an easy thing to feel like to give yourself like the like fear or anxiety of that. It's a stressful it's a stressful thing to think about, so
yes,
it's an easy body horror because you don't have to actually show it, because all the people on the planet are stabbing their eyes, but you don't have to actually show it to know that, and everyone's like, oh, so in that way it's good. I do a rewatch every week. Right, I mute it so I pay attention to the subtitles more and the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I had music playing, and I made sure to pause it and go over to the music and play "Lights Out" by the Angry Samoans, because it's a song about poking your eyes out during the scene. So it worked. It was fun. But
yikes! The other thing that's kind of weird to me is like, why did he have these people gouge their eyes out? Because if they were going to be taken over by the Vesda, like that's the first thing they do. I guess if we know like what happened with Gamble, is like that thing exploded and then it kind of like destroyed his eyes. So is this like a pre-meditative or like is it like a prerequisite to like taking on the Vestas? Like, oh well, it'll be easier on my family if I can just get them to gouge their eyes out.
I think it's just like a ritualistic thing that maybe they like. Maybe these people had like their ancestors would do this ceremony if they were like trying to get possessed by these Vesda entities if they worshipped them. But
because the Vesda don't need the eyes.
Yeah,
and maybe they're just trying to. Your body's all ready for the Vesda if they don't have to poke your eyes out. It's just it's all set. Okay.
Ultimately, I think it was just written there to freak out the audience.
That's really all I got out of it. I was like, ugh.
But yeah, it turns out that I guess in the ancient times when all these sky temples were being built or whatever, they predicted that one day this guy Mbenga would come to this planet and he's needed to open this door. They have some of the writing on it is in Swahili, Which the Earth languages being like influenced by aliens or aliens being influenced by like ancient Earth languages is it's a little dicey for me. It seems like a little like ancient astronauts, chariots of the gods type stuff that like Gene
It only works
Roddenberry was
with
always against
yeah.
being, and he like Gene Roddenberry didn't want like aliens to have like come built the pyramids. He's like, no, that was like humans' accomplishments and stuff like that. But there are a lot of instances of ancient aliens, I guess, on Earth in Star Trek. You know, like Kukulkan and
Yeah.
Apollo, and a lot of
Yep.
a lot of those mythological figures turned out to be real.
One thing about the door, though, is Corby mentioned that the writing had actually changed when Gamble was trying to go through by himself, and so he said something like, I don't remember the exact line. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down, but Corby had said like the writing on the door changed, and then Gamble couldn't go through alone at that point. Like I guess Corby had witnessed that. So I guess it hasn't really been written there for eternity or whatever, but it had been a recent rewrite on this like entryway.
But they didn't show that, yeah. So
Yeah, they didn't show it, but they said it.
yeah,
Corby
there was a line about that, but I would
changed.
yeah.
It's weird to me that they need Mbenga to open this thing. Like, what was the
Yeah, it
like?
is
Why him? Like, other
I
than
thought
like,
it was because in the other episode, Mbenga and Gamble walked through together, and it's still key to that duo.
what did
I
they
wrong
walk
about
through?
that?
What did they walk through together?
The doorway into that temple.
Mbenga didn't go into the temple.
Oh yeah,
Not
I made that up
then.
then.
Yeah.
He
He
goes
the
through.
only thing I could think of, and I
Is
made
this
it up.
like
Yeah.
the effect before the cause? Because they're
There
like
you
when
go.
they
Yeah.
go to Vadia 9 in this episode, then like they open
Yeah.
a door together. But it's
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was just like, well, we think this might be the last episode of the series, and we need to give every single character something important to do, and this is going to be Mbenga's important thing.
Yeah.
But we also learned that the first time he ever killed anyone was when he was 12 years
12,
old.
yeah.
So,
So
With the knife.
depressing.
yeah, this guy has a lot of dark secrets in his past, it seems. But
Redacted.
yeah,
All
there was a
his.
lot more redacted than we ever knew, apparently.
Yeah.
What
But-
is Mbenga?
But Gamble uses Mbenga to get through the door, and then we're back on Vadia 9. I do like that they had like the memorable grave robbers in the room on Vadia 9, so like we instantly know like, oh, we are back in that exact same place. There's the two corpses, so nice little visual storytelling. But yeah, the requirement for Mbenga, that just seems very, very contrived, like obviously contrived. But Gamble immediately begins attacking the Sentry statue that they establish in episode 5 and Through the Lens of Time, and the damage he does on it seems to like affect
Mirrored.
Batel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing like these like energy blasts on it. It's very like Dragon Ball Z or Emperor Palpatine, but like these people are like shooting energy out of their hands in this episode, and shooting the statue is like injuring Batel on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
But it awakens her like god power. She gets like the cosmic glowy eyes.
Yeah, very Gary Mitchell.
Super Gary.
Yeah, it's kind of Gary Mitchell, but I never thought of like Gary Mitchell's eyes as being like, oh, that's supposed to be like stars. That's supposed to be like the cosmos. Like her eyes look like you see like space nebula and stars and stuff.
Yeah, she's
so
like the Watcher kind of.
Yeah, it is different, but it immediately I thought Gary Mitchell. So
yeah, it's hard not to though when you get like really glowy eyes like that in Trek, because it's I don't think it's very common in this series, right?
Yeah, no, I guess it hasn't happened since Gary Mitchell that I can think of. I guess
I really
when
felt
Ransom got the strange energies god power, he had glowy eyes, but
they were
that's true.
talking about Gary Mitchell on that episode.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just
Throw a
one of
boulder
those,
on
like,
him.
oh, that'll look cool, you know?
It's good the Vesta didn't have a boulder. They just could have thrown it on Batel.
Yeah, that would be that'd be Dr. Tiana's prescription to dealing with strange energies like this. Well, back on the Enterprise, the landing party returns, and they're unsure where Mbenga and Gamble went. I guess I don't know how far away this planet is from Vadia 9, but I guess if they knew it was Vadia 9, they could have just like warped over there.
I think they say like 12 light years or something at some point. It's pretty far.
I wouldn't think 12 light years isn't that far by Star Trek standards.
So because initially they had to warp 11 hours, so that was much further
Yeah.
away. But then I think there was a distance said. So it's not too bad, but
I think they just never learn it's Vadia 9 until they go in there themselves.
Why would you think that?
Yeah. So, but there's that moment with Battelle in sickbay when Chapel figures out like, oh, your life signs actually are identical to the Beholder statue that I said had life signs way back in episode 5 of this season.
Mm-hmm.
So that seemed like a little whack to me. They do go on to explain it, but what I did like in that moment though was the character moment when Chapel's when her eyes light up, not like Battelle's, just like she nerds out at like the science of it,
scanning her and
and Pike is like Christine, so not cool. Now, like this isn't the time, like I work, like the love of my life it might be dying, like I need to get this figured out, but yeah, I like Chapel being she's the science girly.
Yeah, it's always a bad sign when medical staff are excited because that means they've never seen it before.
And they show on Vadia 9, Mbenga is... I think it's dumb the way that he was required to get through that door, but I like the way that they write Mbenga dealing with this stuff. He threatens to kill himself. But it's just
a ruse.
Yep. Yeah, it was a trick to force Gamble into... He imprisons Gamble in one of the doors that he's able to open with the two of them. And so it bides some time for the Enterprise crew to figure out how to catch up to where he is. In the science lab, Battelle explains that she believes she has the genetic memories of multiple creatures on how to detect evil. It's like how apparently humans can detect predators. Like I didn't know I had like a super ability to I didn't know I had like that.
Is that like when you can tell someone's watching you, like a Metron or something? Maybe.
I guess I don't really get that feeling. I never really.
It's because there's no Metrons around. They don't like Austin.
You'll know how be in the right situation either. Like if you were actually in a scary situation that required that. But have you ever been? You don't. Maybe you haven't been. But I think this whole entire scene was very hard for me to swallow. I think I laughed at it the first time several times. I was like, this is super cringe. Like this whole well, maybe because I have the Gorn and Una's Illyrian blood and the Chimera Blossom and humanity, all of these things of seeing evil. It was just I was like, oh my God, what is the possibility that you accidentally create a Vesda protector?
Well, I think you can say it's so being directed by something because she can't, because they don't really say what she is. She's become this thing more than human. Yeah. Are there others? Because she's becomes the warden of this prison. But who made it? There were others who made it, right?
Right.
I'm under the impression that she
effect.
Did she go back and make it too? She might have, but they didn't really say.
That was the impression I get, is that at the end of this episode, she goes back in time and creates that prison with her god power.
Oh, okay.
And then she's always been that
backward thing.
Yeah, and she's been that statue, guarding against the Vesda for eons ever since then. But
I just felt like it was very convenient and lazy writing to be oh, they're evil before evil as its own thing and not evil being evil, evil as a noun and not evil as a verb, and I don't know. It was just, for me, this is still when I rewatch it, I'm having a really hard time accepting. I think it would have been easier for me if it was some kind of entity that possessed her, instead of it being oh, she becomes this thing, she becomes this entity. If it was because these Vesda things are so ancient on their own. Pelia says that multiple times, these things are older than me, and I'm terrified of this thing. And so it's weird to me to believe that Batel, who is newly created in this situation, is stronger than the Vesda because she has like Gorn babies that were reabsorbed
because
and
her
Oh, but
DNA
they
was
raised a bunch
tweaked.
of
Like-
dogs and loved them and had a dog.
I'm
too,
like,
but-
that doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't think I will ever believe it. Like, I just, it's so unbelievable to me. Like, I feel like if there was some kind of like, oh, of all of this Vesda stuff, there was this one eternal being, like, I don't know, like kind of, I know some people have brought up like Paul Wraith's situation where it's kind of like that, where it's like, oh, some kind of Wraith that like can be this protector, and maybe they're just like on the loose and they need a body, and like Batel's specific like changes to her body make her the perfect vessel for this entity to like come into her and like become this protector together. Like, to me, that makes more sense. Like, I can like rationalize that a little bit more, but her like just having like this random concoction inside her just makes her the perfect match for this. Just seems wild. Like, it's hard for me to believe.
Yeah.
So.
Is
Well,
it like the power scale side of it? Is that what's hard to believe? Because I guess Star Trek has kind
They've
of
done
shown
this before, but a little better.
they've shown that the humans in Star Trek, I guess, do have potential to evolve into like these godlike beings, like Gary Mitchell, even like in Lower Decks when we see someone ascend to like the koala's plane. But yeah, it does seem like a little strange to me.
It's kind of it's like the prophets. They meet Cisco and then they create him. Basically afterwards, as far as we can tell.
Yeah, but there was like 170 episodes.
Yeah, they explained a lot more. It's a lot better
instead of 10.
I'm just saying. But this is also too weird. It's set up as cosmic horror, and the ancient evil that existed before everything. That the straight cosmic horror, but then it's defeated by love, and Batel alone, and then I don't know. Yeah, there should have been someone else on Batel's side that was around, or at least had died, that used to be there. And then maybe they create a new one. They already mentioned Slayers in the chat. Yeah, the new Slayer arises when the old one dies. And
I want to bring up something that is happening in the chat. Joanne says that Batel means daughter of God in Hebrew, which is really interesting. I did not know that. Also, Marie is kind of like Mary, like the Virgin Mary. So there's definitely some like religious things that I did not see before until this was just mentioned in the chat. So
I wonder if that was a coincidence or if that was intentional, because like this character has been named since the very first episode of the show, and I don't know if they would have had. I mean, like, to me, it feels like a lot of the story arc they kind of they came up with fairly recently and also in a hurry.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that was some. That is a good catch, Joanne. Though that is interesting. I would like to ask
for bringing that up.
Yeah, I would like to ask one of these Strange New Worlds writers if they knew that. Maybe it was
say
fate.
Yes,
maybe,
we knew.
Maybe it was the prophets guiding the hands of the writers. I don't think that's the case, but what do I know? I could be wrong.
But like the stuff in this episode, the cause happened later than the initial effect. It's just how it works.
Also, like, the framing of all this stuff is like good versus evil is kind of not
typical
for Star Trek, but I do have some more thoughts on that I'll try to share at the end of the episode. But long story short, they figure out in order to get this door open, they're going to need 2 starships shooting their phasers at it. So, conveniently, Kirk says the Farragut is ready to help out, and so we got the most hardcore spurk bait I have ever seen in 60 years of Star Trek. But yeah, like the convo between Kirk and Spock in the bar. What do y'all think of that?
It was hilarious. I liked it. It was fun.
I mean, I really enjoyed this. I watched this probably when I was taking my notes. I like rewatched the scene like 6 times just because I wanted to make sure that I heard everything correctly, because I was like, wow, this is like when he says, "Oh, I see why you brought me to a bar.
To a
This is
bar,
one hell of
yeah.
a date." And he just says, "Indeed." Like he doesn't dispute that. So I'm like, this is some pretty good Spurk action here. And I don't know. I think they have really good chemistry together. Like they are very, I don't know, like you can feel that there's more kind of going on than what's just being said in the dialogue. Like you get a lot of small emotional like breaks, and there's a little bit more sarcasm that you can see and by their smirking and their eyebrow raises and stuff. So I thought the scene was actually very strong, and kind of hilarious. I love Spock like kind of having to convince Jim, but him also like yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. And then Spock like mentions it once, and Jim's like, okay. He's so easily swayed by Spock. I really enjoyed that.
So
yeah, overall, it was great.
As a hardcore fan of the original series, as a hardcore fan of Shatner's Kirk and Nimoy's Spock and their performances and their on-screen chemistry, which I think is a huge part of why Star Trek became as popular as it did. I really love the way that Paul Wesley and Ethan Peck play off of each other, and I loved that the show did like a slow burn to get us to this Kirk-Spock friendship, but it's weird. As much as I enjoy all that stuff in the latter half of this episode between the two of them, the mind meld does seem odd to me. I like that they've slow burnt like the two of them meeting. It's just like a casual shaking of hands, and then they didn't get too carried away with it. And the say lad who ate its tail, Spock gave them the meaningful pep talk, and that was it. And even that, I feel like they kind of should have done a little differently. But then here, it's like they're kind of like, okay, now because maybe we think this is going to be a series finale, let's just fast forward to them being BFFs and hurry up and get there. I just kind of wish that would have been something that was just slowly built up from like the two of them having these space adventures together. Just kind of how like real friendships and bonds tend to build up. Oh, and the other thing is it's like a big weird canon thing for me, a big continuity issue for them to mind meld, because Spock famously says, or I say famously, maybe people don't keep up with these TOS details as much as I do these days, but in Dagger of the Mind, Spock says, "I'm unsure if I can mind meld with this Van Gilder guy. I've never done this with a human before." So, and he mind melded with La'an in season 1, and I was like, well, she's an augment, so maybe that's why he didn't count that. And then he tries to mind meld with Batel in Shuttle to Kinfori, but like that immediately doesn't work well. And it's like, okay, so that didn't work. That would be why he's maybe scared to mind meld with a human. But then here he has like a hell of a mind meld with Kirk, where they're like they're sharing a consciousness. They're like completely in sync, piloting these ships.
Different kind of mind meld, I think, as far as I could tell, because the syncing consciousness, so you can do things together, it seems like a slightly different kind of mind meld than the regular one, right? Because that's not a thing that comes up before.
If anything, this seems like it would be more of a mind meld than what Van Gilder got. But
yeah, it would be.
But it's weird to me. Like, oh, like does Kirk know about T'Pring? Does Kirk know about Sarek and Amanda now? Like they were talking like they're going to like know each other's memories, and like he knows about the dancing lessons.
All that. I think they know at first, and I don't think they can keep all that.
That could easily be the case, Joel. I kind of hope that's the case. I just wish
that Salon was talking about that last night, and I
wish the show would say it. Like sometimes. In Star Trek, they do like what's one little line of dialogue, like fix something, and I try to give them credit when they do that. And I feel like Strange New Worlds does that on occasion, and then sometimes it just doesn't seem to care.
I honestly feel like it was a missed opportunity though to like use someone that Spock had already mind melded with, like maybe La'an, and had her be on the other ship. Or even just like two people who like were super in sync all the time. But I think that's like where they kind of fail, is like where they've built up their characters, is they don't really have any characters who you could see are like in sync together without it being a mind meld, especially down to like the millisecond that Scotty needs. And
you also think it's something you could do with
the person to make it work, and that's why it had to be Kirk.
Yeah.
You would think it would also be something you could do with computers, but
Those aren't as sexy. But
Well, Scotty brings up that they are not
Spock
allowed to
does
sync
a-
up the ships because
mind melds
it
with a
kinda
lot of
makes
computers,
sense.
though.
But you could also write it where Scotty says like, "Oh yeah, that actually works." Like that was just like a decision
Yeah.
made by the writers. That wasn't something
Or
like
Pelia's like, no, I have
previously
something in my
established.
chest. And they're like, it's like, we'll use
But
phone line. Boop, boop,
I
boop.
do think it was a good move though to be like, oh, you can't like sync up the different ships together because that comes up as like a big bad effect, like in TNG when the Borg take over or whatever, and like all of the ships kind of like sync up to attack. Do you remember?
That was in
kinda what I'm talking
Picard.
about? In Picard, I'm sorry. But I was close. TNG and Picard have the same actors. I think it was an interesting thing because you were thinking like it as like as a defensive thing. Like you don't want someone to like accidentally commandeer one of your ships and then be able to sync up with the whole fleet or something, and then like boom, everybody's dead.
Unless they have the prefix code. But I think it was mainly though that again, assuming they were thinking this might be the series finale. They're like, okay, we need to end the show showing that the future of the Enterprise is with Kirk and Spock, and that they're going to be the dynamic duo of Star Trek. It's even like when Una tells Pelia, when Pelia's freaking out about like, oh, look at them working together, it's so perfect, and Una's like, we'll get used to it. It's like, yeah, this is the bread and butter of this franchise, Pelia. It's Kirk and Spock. They were basically holding this thing up for the first 2 or 3 decades of the franchise. So
yeah. It was so cute seeing Uhura and Pelia both be impressed by this connection, though.
But I like
How fast it is.
the ship porn aspect of it, though. Of the
the ballet
The-
of them.
yeah, the dance of the Farragut and the Enterprise. These beautiful
Beautiful.
designs.
I was immediately thinking, oh, is Trip gonna tether between these ships?
Yeah.
Like that was
Yeah,
like,
they're
this is
lined
an
up for
Enterprise
it.
episode.
Perfect.
They are lined up to send a Florida man on a cable from one ship to
Yeah.
the other.
And Cake in the live chat is asking if does Kirk know about Burnham and Discovery now? He does, but he knows it's classified. And he never mentions it.
I would
Is that good?
I would think that's possible, but yeah, that's another reason why I don't like the mind meld. I wish that they would have. See, this is why we need Paul Wesley on the show more. But y'all are always freaking out about like, oh, why is this guy on the show? I hate him. He needs to go away. But it's like I want them to be able to slowly build up this friendship between the two of them. Like we know in 4 years, Kirk is going to be in command of the ship, and that Spock and Kirk, they'll have that relationship we see in Where No Man Has Gone Before. So yeah, I would have much preferred the slow build up and not the let's speed run this thing with a mind meld. But it does the job. It gets the door open for Pike and Batel.
Yeah, there's a lot to do this episode. So.
I thought
Was
this
that
was
faster
kind of
than
funny
mind meld? I don't know, but
because I really took this as Batel was guessing how much energy, so they're just kind of like, she's like, how
Scotty's
much
like,
would it be for Vezda?
but that's not, and she's like.
Yeah, I don't know, but I did enjoy having like the Farragut and the Enterprise together to open up this door for them to go through. But I did think that was kind of funny that they're just kind of guessing, it felt like that to me. Like it was, it didn't have very substantial scientific method behind this,
Convenient contrivances.
Yeah,
but like I was saying, like
episode.
There's so much wonky scripting, but the emotional beats and the execution of it, like, as much as I just bitched and moaned about the mind meld not working for me, I sure as hell ate up the Ethan Peck and Paul Wesley stuff we got.
Oh, yeah.
So.
It's entertaining, even if it's not very good with lining up with canon. Like,
yeah, then he says, please be gentle, call me Jim. And then you're like, oh. And then... I guess they know how to play us.
But once Batel and Pike arrive on Vadia 9, Gamble escapes from his door that Mbenga stuck him behind and begins attacking the Batel statue, I guess I can call the Sentry now. Mm-hmm. Which we never see this thing thawed out and like active. I wanted to see like this creature like flying around. I kind of wanted it
to move.
Yeah. I took it as it's like she's sealed into this like crystal contraption as like part of being the doorstop.
Yeah, I hope so.
Like, I don't think it's like she's a life sign, but she's like immortalized as.
But there is that thing in the other episode where they're immortal because of the weird quantum fluctuations.
It would have been way cooler though, like you guys said, like to see this thing moving. Like if she had become the statue, before
just like
becoming a stationary statue, but like seeing the statue in action. Yeah,
you move
I
your
agree.
arm
That
up
would've
and then
been
they
so
fade into
cool.
the being this spiky thing, something like that.
The other thing I was bothered by in these scenes with Gamble, like where he's like, or the Vesda is attacking the statue, the beholder, and not Marie, like that I thought was really dumb. Like he knows that it's her, and like instead of attacking her like fragile human form, as he says, like he's attacking the statue. So I think that's kind of like low quality effort by this villain. Like, I mean, he could have taken her out when she was like not the statue, like she's right in front of him, and he still chooses to attack on the crystal looking thing.
Yeah,
So
I don't know. Maybe the statue is more is her weak point. Maybe she's like in god mode in her human body at this point.
yeah.
I didn't really have any issues with that. But are y'all ready to talk about Pike's "It's a Wonderful Life"?
Well,
sequence?
I have one more comment here. I think it was really weird writing for her to like get there and then like kind of lose her will to fight a little bit. I think it was weird that she's like, well, I don't know what to do. Wow. Like she's like,
Gamble was waiting for them too.
yeah, it was just, I think
that
that
was
was just a little weird. Like she felt like she had a lot of resolve. Like she was ready to go fight and like do this thing. And she kind of gets there and like fumbles a little bit. Like maybe she's a little scared, or like maybe she's just really not sure like how to like, bring about her power or whatever. But still,
Yeah.
I thought it was a little out of character for her, because like we see her very confident, like so much, especially in the last couple episodes we've seen her in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's like
so-
when they need her to conveniently, like know to be somewhere, it's just like, oh, I feel compelled to do this thing. I know I must do this. And then when they need her to like slow down, it's just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. It's
yeah, I was like,
I'm gonna go be
okay,
a
Patel would
judge.
not.
Bye.
Like
Yeah.
she is so much better than that, and I hated that they wrote her that way. I wish it could have been like she walked in and like really felt like this massive power, and she understood finally, like just being in the presence of like her future self. Like I kind of wish there was something like that, and that's when she introduces us into Pike's inner light moment. So where she's like, okay, I have a few minutes.
She doesn't have a Gary Mitchell thing where she suddenly knows. Like Gary Mitchell's always saying, "Oh, you don't know what it is." But yeah, but then we switch to the cabin.
Then we flash forward to is this their second wedding anniversary? Because Pike is like
I think it's their second anniversary, but is it their wedding anniversary, or it's very confusing?
Yes.
Because like the tradition.
I know, but he didn't know if it was the name change thing joke. It was a funny joke, but then I was like, why is that?
But yeah, that was dumb. That was stupid.
That should have been
married,
maybe.
They've been married for 2 years, and he's like, oh, by the way, I guess we should discuss if either one of us are going to change our last names.
Yeah, that was super weird.
we can hand wave it as saying like this is when she's like creating the fantasy and all of the details hadn't yet cemented themselves into his consciousness, and maybe this was even like the writers trying to indicate that. But what does he say about like the first year anniversary? It's a cotton gift, and the second year it's
with paper, I think, and then cotton.
Paper
those are the
first.
traditional.
Okay, yeah,
And then
paper
cotton.
then cotton.
Those are their traditional. Yeah, I think.
But he didn't know. He got her. What was it, like handkerchiefs that said either MP for Marie Pike or MB for Marie Battelle, because he didn't know what her last name was going to be. But yeah, if it's your second wedding anniversary, that seems weird to have not talked about that.
Honestly, super weird. But I do like that he offered to become Christopher Battelle, because I think that actually does have
funny.
a good ring
a great
to
little
it.
moment. Yeah.
He was like, oh, it has a ring to it. And I was like, actually, it really does. Like Marie Pike kind of sounds not as cool as Marie Battelle, but Christopher Pike and Christopher Battelle both sound really good.
Yeah, everyone can call him CB for short. Yeah, it would be cool.
Yeah,
I do love the Chef Pike apron, and I checked StarTrek.com. They're not selling it, and once again,
it'll eventually be there. Don't worry.
You know what though? I wouldn't want one. I would want an apron that looks identical to that, but except it says Chef Fathery instead of Chef Pike.
Yeah, like a custom one.
You get that too, yeah.
If anyone wants to get me a Christmas gift or something, I know it's a little.
You have to
early,
wait for second.
Well, you got to get it custom made, but well, what's the apron anniversary? And
But
that's a
okay,
big
so
one.
something I did want to bring up with these before we get too deep in the different sections of this montage is I want to bring up how amazing the set design crew did on these shots, because they have every single time we're in this small space here, we see changes. Some of them are
Yeah.
very small and some of them are very big, but it's very cool to like watch like the kitchen change just slightly, like the dishes move around, some of the decor moves around, some of the plants stay the same, but it's cool to like see like, oh, they're really like settled into this place further and further and further in the future. Like you can see how things get a little bit more functional, even like where they're pulling more things lower, what they're using more often, and like the salt and pepper move around. Like it's really cool touch to be able to see like this set crew like thinking about like maybe how someone would live in this space for, I don't know, a 30-40 year range. So if you're going back to watch this, I would super recommend just like ignoring all the dialogue and just watch how the backgrounds change through this home, and it's very cool.
Yeah, and the transitions are cool, like the puppy grabbing the apron because it hears a knock on the door. But then we cut to like the adult dog, but now there's a small human child, and the house is like covered with like toys and stuff. And like the knocking on the door is such like a cool ominous thing because like you think that it's knocking, it's like Pike's dreaded fate knock. He's like, oh, I'm about to have this excruciatingly painful exposure to delta radiation and then spend the rest of my life in the beep beep chair with poor wife and daughter, like having to...
Which he didn't know about before. So that was a new
Yeah, he's worried about them having to...
facet. Facet, yeah.
They'll suffer watching him suffer. I do like Patel say that, like, a lot of people have been critical of Pike kind of treating, like, being disabled is, like, the equivalent of death. But I like, Patel being like, like, you'll still be you, we'll still be, support. Taylor, you were telling me, right, that it kind of reminded you of the Christopher Reeve documentary that we watched recently. It's on HBO Max right now, but the famous Superman actor had the famous horse riding accident and famously became paralyzed from the neck down. If you were paying attention to things from like 1995 to 2005, he was a big deal, and it definitely kind of reminds me of the support that his family, gave him when he had to deal with that. But the knocking on the door that it becomes like, oh, this is me going off to train these cadets. This is going to be the accident on the training vessel.
This part is amazing.
It transitions to knocking on the door being Pike returning, and we get like that backyard.
She expected April. She's crying already. She know the date. She expected April to be there and say Pike had an accident. So.
But did she really? This is all kind of a performative thing that
I think
she did.
She's creating for Pike. One of the things I think that they might be
she's
setting
creating
up
it for herself too. To be fair, it's for both. She says that at the end. This is for her too, and Pike. Because this is where she gets that love energy to defeat the Vesta. But
yeah, which is also bizarre to me.
I'm not saying that's not bizarre, but I'm just saying it's not just.
But it is implied that she's like gathering love energy because she says like the love in me is more powerful than the darkness in you, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. So, but yeah, I think like if the power of love being like a real like, I don't know, energy source that you can like blast your enemies with in Star Trek is kind of dumb.
Yeah, it is. One thing I do want to state though, in this scene where Pike returns and he says, I don't know what comes next anymore. And Batel responds, isn't that the gift? That was when I was like really invested, because I was like, oh, she's giving both of them this. Like this is, I kind of knew already that that's kind of what we were leading to, but her saying like, isn't that the gift? Like she's gifting something to him, like, oh, like we know that this is something that you really think on a lot, and like you really, and she knows that she's about to forfeit her entire life with him. So let's just play it out. Like let's have this big, maybe real, maybe pretend situation where you can have all these emotions and we can experience all of these like big milestones in our whole life together. And, like as like a goodbye gift, as, like, thanks for being so important to me. And like, I don't know. I think that was such a good line. And it comes up again later in the montage, but I love that phrasing where she just says, isn't that the gift? Like, you don't know what comes next anymore. Like, here you go. Like, this is, what could happen. We both don't know anymore.
In this fantasy world, he would have existed about 5 years from like the Vesda incident, which he says, like, I was never really sure like what happened with that. So like from his perspective, like that stuff was like kind of a haze. But then like they went on about their Starfleet lives, and 5 years later, I believe, is when he was supposed to have the accident. And
then he must just avoid being captain of the Enterprise so he doesn't screw up what he saw in Quality of Mercy.
But they addressed that. They say that Pike asked him to start training cadets. And I assume like after they get married, he transferred to Earth to, live with his wife, who's head of Starfleet JAG. But he would only have like 5 years kind of like dreading that stuff. And then like after that, they live another 40, 50 years after that, it looks like. And, like the rest of that would be like that great gift to him. Yeah. Their daughter, Juliet, they get to like, watch her grow up and get sounds like a successful career at the Daystrom Institute and get married to April's son, Elijah, who these kids look so young to be getting married. I thought they were going to be like, mom, dad, me and Eli here are going to prom. Yeah. We're going to prom together. It's like, oh, we're getting married. It's like, oh, y'all are some baby-faced adults, I guess. Now, I think that might be Juliet, though, like rebelling against her dad's like, my dad didn't get married until he was in his 50s, so I'm going to get married when I'm 19 or whatever. She's probably a little older than that if she's working at the Daystrom Institute, but...
she must have a doctorate or something.
But those scenes are like so sweet. Like when Pike and Batel, like when they get like the news from the kids and like they're like holding hands. They're like, like it's sweet that they're watching this other couple and they think that's sweet. And I don't know. It was.
Amazing part where Pike is watching Batel's reaction to the news because he already knows.
He already knew, yeah.
He already knew, and he was like, I can't wait to see what her reaction is. So he gets to like marvel in like her processing all of this and I thought that was so supportive and so sweet. And like he was so excited to like share this news with her finally, and get to be a part of it. That was very sweet.
Yeah, it was funny because she just assumed that Pike would tell Batel because she's like, you always tell. You never listen to what I say. Well, huh? And then, that was pretty fun.
And Jill in the live audience is pointing out when you see Batel on her deathbed that there's a different dog than they had earlier, kind of implying that like they've had like several dogs throughout their life together and having this family together. But like all these little moments where they do feel like real characters and a real family who did have like this like loving life together. And the one mysterious thing that keeps happening in this dream, we saw it in the backyard conversation. We see it here when Batel is about to pass away, and out the window though behind Pike, there's like a weird comet streaking thing that we eventually see as like one of the last shots of the episodes in in real life, it seems. So I don't know if that's like a signaling that Batel is still out there somewhere. But as Batel does seem to die in their house, in their Montana house, she explains that this was all a gift that they both need, because I guess it's closure for Pike, which I think is awesome that he got to have Picard had that whole inner life experience, but none of those people were real to him. That was all just a recreation of someone else's life. This is stuff that's actually relevant to you. These are things you always wanted. These are things that you would be fulfilling to you. So much more personal. It really was truly a gift. I guess Picard didn't really get a gift. It was just here's some shit you may or may not like with the inner light. But but the knocking on the door continues, and then that bait and switch to you think that is Pike's ominous inevitable fate, but it turns out it's Patel's ominous inevitable fate. And when Pike opens the door, he's greeted by reality. He's greeted by the face of Vesda Gamble, and he's back on Vadia 9. So I'm just gonna.
And then Gamble kind of acknowledges this happened because the next line from him is like, he's going to defeat you, and the memories will be gone.
Oh yeah, that is kind of a dick move too. He's like,
yeah,
Pike.
He's
Not
like, yeah, I
only
saw
am
what
I
you
gonna,
did there, but I'll get rid of that. Yeah,
yeah. Not only am I going to kill her and free all of my Vesda siblings, but I'm also going to delete all of that happy shit out of your brain.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a dick move, Gamble. But it's a lot of like weird Inception visuals, a lot of crazy cosmic energy stuff swirling around, a lot of like Doctor Who style dialogue about like the power of good triumphing over the power of darkness, and then like we get like some Ghostbusters thing, all these like Vesda spirits sucked back into their prison, including Gamble, and Battelle glows like Captain Marvel, and it kind of feels like everything but Star Trek shoved into this episode here.
Superhero origins.
A lot of Stargate stuff too. Yeah. It was pointed out too.
Yeah.
I don't really know Stargate at all.
I don't. I've seen some, but our chat knows it much better.
Yeah. But we get all of that resolved, and Pike's memories do stick.
Yeah, I hated that whole part with Battelle just having glowiness and everything gets resolved. I felt like that was really lazy. I hated a lot of dialogue in this when she said, like, I'm filled with light you cannot vanquish, and the love I feel is brighter than your darkness. I'm like that was so.
You know what? It reminds me of Inception. When I watched Inception. What is that? Interstellar, the Christopher Nolan movie Interstellar.
Yeah.
Like the first time I watched that movie, when Anne Hathaway halfway through the movie says, "Love is one of the fundamental forces of the universe that we still don't understand," I was like, this movie is going to end with some stupid shit in it. And spoilers for Interstellar, it has some amazing sci-fi visuals, some really riveting sequences, and then ends with some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we get here.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I think that this like whole like love is power, love wins the day kind of thing. To me, it just feels very Disney. This feels like fairy tale kid stuff that like they write around just like, oh, kids will believe that shit, you know? But I feel like in this kind of show, like it needs to have like more, not scientific. It doesn't even have to be scientific. Like it can be fake science, but like it just needs to be a little bit more realized, I think.
Or more
like,
thoughtful.
And more thoughtful. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's just so weird to me to be like the power of love. Like I don't know. That for me, that's really hard to be cool with.
The big theme of this episode, though, and I think Gamble even says it at one point. He says it's all about duality, but it's all about like these.
We have a drop.
Well, we lost Steven. He'll be back in a second. Miss Taylor, I'm going to use the power of love to bring Steven back. So.
Well, let's channel this.
It worked. It might have worked.
Hand waving.
Okay.
My hands don't glow. I haven't had a 15-minute montage yet.
We use the power of love to bring you back on stage.
Yeah. So what do I know? I guess it does work. But
we have to build up all of the episode of Tex-Trek to this.
I was talking about the theme of the season, and then the Vesda tried to derail our show. I guess, but this whole season they've had this theme of, I guess, of good versus evil, of like there's like good in you and there's evil in you. There's it's like that whole internet meme of like inside you there's two wolves. But I think that's what they were trying to cap off here with like this episode being all about duality and like this fight between good and evil that feels very unusual for Star Trek, which tends to be like, well, let's be like a little bit more nuanced instead of saying like, the Borg are all purely evil. Like maybe like there's some good in the Borg. Maybe, maybe instead of saying like all the Gorn are evil, maybe if you're stuck on a moon with one, you can become friends with one. And then, but here I think they were trying to explore, this is the internal struggle inside of all of us. And that's why you can feel like this, these monstrous parts within yourself that you have to struggle with and live with and deal with, but also in your enemy, whoever you're going up against. There's going to be both like good and it, or maybe just even just like the potential for good and the potential for evil in them, just like there is in you. And I feel like that was the theme they were trying to focus on this whole season. But just with the Gorn trauma being in something that Ortega's was dealing with internally, or like Batel's weird biology being like something she was dealing with internally, and then dealing with these our fellow Starfleet officers have been turned into zombies, or like look at these monsters that are raiding all these ships, but they used to be human, and all of this stuff. I think there was like a clear theme of this, the struggle of good versus evil, and that being an internal struggle inside of each of us, inside of the hearts of the good guys and inside of the hearts of the bad guys. And but I don't know, that's my read of this stuff.
I think that's pretty good. Accurate.
And then we get some wrap-up scenes at the end. Chapel and Corby. This is interesting. It shows that Corby chooses his work over spending time with Chapel, which, they're engaged in TOS, and he's like off digging around on another planet somewhere. But he does give Chapel like, look, in this temple we got all this information on all these planets. Here's a bunch of strange new worlds to explore. So I hope this is like a thing in season 4. I hope they're like, oh look, Starfleet has never been to a lot of these worlds. Let's go say hi. I think that'd be kind of neat to spend season 4 doing that.
And Corby can be jealous. I'm not sure. Well, he does know that Batel has the eternal life that he longs for. Although she's got to stay in one room and do one thing forever. So
yeah.
Well, Corby is kind of a romantic guy, though. Like he's into the romance. I don't know if he wants to be like a solo statue,
but
being an eternal prison warden. He wants to either have Chapel. If he can't have Chapel, he's going to build a robot girlfriend.
Yeah.
So, we get the chess game between Pike and Kirk. I'm sorry, between Spock and Kirk, which I always thought would be a great way to end the show, because the cage, the first TOS episode with Kirk and Spock, it opens with the two of them playing chess. So if you were going to end Strange New Worlds here, this would be a great way to showcase Kirk and Spock. But I love them being like the classic Kirk-Spock friendship at the end. As much as I hated the mind meld, I do like the result of it we get here.
Yeah.
Very weird that Kirk now has Spock's memories of, we'll call it the dancing lessons with Lon, but they had like that romance between Kirk and Lon in season 2. So I'm sure Kirk has been, curious what it would be like to dance with Lon, and it's like, oh, I guess now he knows. Little weird, little weird there. But,
yeah, Lon does not
actually.
I
really like when Spock and Lon leave, and then there's like the bourbon that gets set down on the table, and I thought it was gonna be Scotty, because we got a lot of Scotty and Jim in this season, kind of building their friendship. But then it pans out to be Sam, and I was actually so much happier with that, because like, oh, the brothers get to have a drink together. And they didn't forget that they were brothers.
Yeah, no, it was really good they did this, because if the series ended without this, it would have been like, what the hell? So I mean, I'm glad the series isn't over, but to what they were doing, I mean, it's good for the season too. I mean, it's good. I like it.
Yeah, it'd be nice in season 4 or season 5 if we could get like more scenes of the two of them together instead of just like this one shot here. But I did like it. And again, it's more of like, this show has this episode in particular has a lot of like wacky, wonky writing, but a lot of these emotional moments just they do land for me, anyways.
Yeah.
And beyond the Spock Kirk thing, it's not really nostalgia. It's like I have no nostalgia for Jim Kirk and Sam Kirk. That was never a thing in the original series. Sam Kirk is in one shot and he's dead. But I love that.
Nostalgia for the mustache, but that's it.
I bought into like the Batel relationship stuff. I really love Una being like the like supportive bro for Pike, who's just just there, like, I'm just gonna chill with you and have a drink with you. Like, if you're not ready to talk about it, that's cool. But if it helps to have some company, I'll just sit here.
Yeah,
Like,
They sell that this is traumatic. Yeah.
this was brutal because if you're, thinking like Pike and Battelle lived in his quarters together for so long at the beginning of this during her
Yeah.
born
oh yeah,
medical
yeah.
journey.
He doesn't want to
So,
be
like,
alone in here. Yeah,
he
he's not ready to be
can't.
alone.
How could you like literally be in this space where you've like, literally their hairbrushes were next to each other and their comm badges live next to each other or whatever. Or I guess they're not comm badges at this point. I'm sorry, guys.
He had to move his hair products over to make room for her.
Yeah. And so it's like all of these things in there. Like you can't be there without just like it just ripping your heart through again and again, like everything you see. So yeah, I agree. I love having Una in there with him, like, as this emotional support.
Mm-hmm. Jill in the live audience is calling this Una's best season, and I know that's something I've said several times on the show, but I do not like Strange New World season 3 as much as seasons 1 and 2. That's clear now that it's all said and done. However, I do think it was the best season for writing Una. I think it's like the first time the writers seem to clearly understand how to use that character. I heard someone call her the glue that holds everything together, and yeah, that is the role that she carries out. She's like that as like the character. She's that as like her function on the ship as first officer. She's there to support the crew and to support the captain both, and kind of be that bridge between the two of them. And yeah, I just love how strong and supportive she can be in this scene at the end with Pike in the cabin.
Yeah. Such good acting too, because there's very little dialogue in this, but it's so heavy and you just feel the weight of this.
I don't want to linger on this too long, but I just want to point out to y'all that Taylor thought this glass in the cabin looks like it has like some dead goldfish in it.
Okay,
I don't know if anyone else thinks that.
Unsee it, because our goldfish look exactly like that, the white and the orange, and they kind of float like up and down sometimes, or like parallel sometimes.
Another tragedy he doesn't even want to talk about.
Not moving at all, and that's very weird.
I don't think they're fish, but I think you're just paranoid because we were worried one of our fish died the other day. But it turned out they didn't. They're fine for now.
Well, that's good.
And then we and also
the
seeing,
montage.
Like, that montage at the end, but seeing like Una and Pike like drink like their whiskey glasses, like they're in sync, like Kirk and Spock. They're in like unison. Yeah. This captain first officer duo. It's more that theme of duality.
Oh yeah, everyone's kind of like coupled up in these montage scenes. You have like Pelia and Scotty like going over like a
Pelia's talking
diagram.
Like a vampire too here.
Yeah, Scotty is hanging out with his mentor Pelia. We see Chapel hug her mentor Mbenga. Yeah, he made it back from Vadia 9 safely. There's a shot of Ortega's and Uhura and Una having fun at the bar, and then they eventually get back on the Enterprise. And I'm sorry, they eventually get back on the bridge, and Pike is back in the chair. This is the unique thing about Pike. I think of all of these Star Trek captains. Kirk, Archer, Picard, Janeway, Freeman, all of them. There haven't been any other captains that would be this comfortable being this vulnerable in front of their crew. But yeah, like Pike is barely holding himself together, and like his whole bridge crew, they're there to like support him, and they're encouraging him like hey, get in this chair. There's all these new worlds to explore that Corby showed us, enough for a 5-year mission. Let's go. And like they're like encouraging him. And give us your catchphase. Say hit it. And
they all know. Yeah.
But he looks.
I love that they. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
I love that they like take away the decision making from him though. Like that's gotta be so hard when you're in such a deep grief, is like making decisions and doing the things. Like getting back into a room is really hard. So I think it was really cool to see like Erica was like, oh, I already picked out an M-class planet, and do you want to say hit it? Like I think it was really sweet. Like the people on the bridge were very much like, we already have a plan. Like we just need you to say go. And like that takes so much off of him, and I think that's such a great, like you're talking about, like him being so vulnerable and they're also aware, but what a great gift that they can give him while he's processing.
Yeah,
Yeah, they show everyone at their station looking concerned, and yeah, they did a really good job with that.
and you know, that's one thing about Pike is that sometimes he can be a little indecisive, and I've seen people complain about that. But it's like I kind of like that. You know, he could otherwise be such like a perfect Starfleet captain. I kind of like that being one of his flaws is that sometimes he can get like a little overwhelmed and be like a little, you know, decision fatigue. He especially when like there's a lot of high stakes and no good choice. Like it's like whatever you choose is gonna have like some bad consequences. He really doesn't do well with like the bad consequences. It takes him a while to accept like the bad news. Like Battelle kind of has to really like hold his hand and like walk him through some of these things. Like you know, like this might be my destiny, and he'll be like no, this was like you know, in the ancient times, so some other life form, and she's got to like hold his hand and be like no, this is me, you're gonna have to accept this, and he kind of struggles accepting the bad news, and I think it is because he is such like a loving, caring, sensitive guy. It's a unique Star Trek captain. I like he's and I don't want this to sound like a criticism, but to me he's the kinder, gentler Star Trek captain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he also like allows a lot more. Like if you know, he knows that Mbenga probably murdered that ambassador, and he knew that Una was an Illyrian, and you know, like he's more
Uhura fudged the numbers, and
right. Like he's really, really lenient on his crew. Like, because I think, because again, like it comes to that emotional maturity. Like he understands where they're coming from or what they emotionally were at. Like he can put himself in their shoes very well and like understand the emotional reasoning, even though it doesn't excuse their actions. He can still understand it, and he's more empathetic and apologetic for
he understands like the individual context and like, you know, like the motivations and the reasons and that side of it. So yeah, it's a very empathy driven thing. It's a very empathetic way to captain. So I dig it. I've heard some men say that they think empathy is a bad thing, and I think that's crazy talk. I think humans wouldn't evolve to be the dominant species on this planet if we didn't empathize with one another and work together. And I like having a Starfleet captain that can symbolize that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before I go into the Gorn eggs?
Please Gorn egg us.
Just one last thing. I want to say that Pike did see that comet streak out the bridge window. If that will come up again, maybe. If that's just like a little thing to be like, oh yeah, Battelle's consciousness still exists in the universe or something, then, you know, she does say like, you know, you can always like look up at the stars and know that I'm still out there. So maybe we'll never see that again, but there is like there's a little hook that if future Star Trek writers, you know, it could be as soon as Strange New World season 4, it could be who knows when, but there's a hook there that someone can go grab onto and expand on that. Maybe there's a plan, maybe there isn't. But yeah, let's move on to the Gorn egg section of the show. This is where I like to talk about the Easter eggs, in jokes, and continuity connections. There's some really obvious ones in here, but the Pelia reference to a time-traveling doctor she once knew. That's, I guess this latest season of Doctor Who also mentioned Star Trek. So
it did. Yeah.
Stephen Moffat and Alex Kurtzman,
merging.
they really want to do a crossover someday. There's also the line from Pelia, "I'm picking up what you're laying down, Spocko." I loved her calling him Spocko. People might remember that was the nickname that Kirk gave Spock when they were being gangsters in a piece of the action. We had to dress up like Chicago mobsters. But yeah, I love gangster Spock, or Spocko.
That's funny. Also, what's his name? The comedian that did the Inside, Bo Burnham. He had a song called Socko, and now I'm wondering if he's a Star Trek fan.
Oh, well, we do have Uncle. Did you say Socko or Spocko?
Yeah, he had a sock puppet that he called Socko.
Oh, I don't know if that's connected to Spocko, but we did get Uncle Sock from Juliet in this episode.
It's loosely there. Anyway, that was a fun. I loved her nickname as Spocko. That cracked me up.
You know what I liked was actually seeing some uniform continuity in Strange New Worlds. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I can't believe it. They actually had Pike in the same fleet captain uniform that he was wearing in the Discovery flash forwards to his accident. Well, I think the, what do you call those things that go on the shoulders?
The
Epaulets?
pads?
Epaulets?
Oh,
Yeah, I think those are a little different. But I think it's like the same shirt that April wears, honestly. But still cool to see. They
Which
also
makes
mentioned
sense.
the Class J training vessel, which was established by Commodore Mendez. Wait, it was the first episode of TOS I ever saw. Was the Menagerie Part One. So I started with Pike actually, I guess back in the day. But yeah, the Class J training vessel, and then the Daystrom Institute. I think everyone in our audience knows the Daystrom Institute. I don't know if I need to
Yeah.
point this out, but yeah, the Daystrom Institute. That's that place in Okinawa where there's robots and computers and all kinds of science stuff, I guess, but mainly robots and computers is what they show us. But that's all I got on Gornegs. Y'all heard us talk about this episode for over an hour and a half. So this is the part where I ask y'all to write in and tell us how you felt. You can comment on YouTube. You can comment on Spotify. You can reply to my post on social media. You can talk to us in the Tex-Trek Discord server. But please tell us your thoughts on New Life and New Civilizations, the season 3 finale. We might share that in the future. Taylor, our communications officer of the evening, has some subspace transmissions we got on last week's episode, Terrarium. So, Taylor, starting off with some of the responses we got on Facebook, followed by what we got on Discord.
so Damien DeLeon says, I loved it. I think the writing was great. I actually shed a tear during the end. Lee Jones says, excellent. Lincoln William Statler says, classic Trek, excellent.
A lot of
And
positivity on Facebook.
yeah.
Who would have thunk it?
Oh, I'm sorry. This name always trips me up, guys.
Dias Tex in Discord.
Dias
Yeah, some
Tex.
Latin.
I'm horrible with Latin. Dias Tex says, Ortegas and the Gorn on the moon. Terrarium is a pretty by-the-numbers Trek enemy mine trope episode, but it's a Trek trope because it works. Solid story, standout performance by Melissa Navia. Absolute banger of an episode.
And then on Blue Sky, followed by Twitter, we received some more responses.
John Wells says, it was very good and compelling. It reminded me of many Trek episodes, especially TNG's The Enemy. I'd been wanting an Ortegas episode for years. This definitely didn't disappoint, and Melissa Navia really excelled. My favorite moment was the raw anger and grief from her when the Gorn died. Lisa, sometimes playwright, says, freaking brilliant. Paramount Plus needs to ensure she's in the running for an Emmy. And Argan Tap says, 4.5 Vulcans was original. Terrarium lifts too many elements from other stories, including TOS, TNG, and Enemy Mine.
So Argan Tap prefers 4.5 Vulcans over Terrarium. I heard a few people express that. And then, sorry, I guess John Wells got in there twice. What's Leland saying on Threads?
If the Metrons were running an earlier experiment pre-Arena and decided they might need to alter human perceptions of the Gorn, then it sort of makes the Strange New Worlds Gorn arcs moot, trashes Hemmer's existence and loss, and makes all of the so-called horrors of the past like La'ange trauma questionable. The writers' ideas that they were going to mesh Enemy Mine with the Galileo 7 and Arena, then tie the fiasco reimagined Gorn into a cute bow and say, aren't we clever, just proved that they aren't.
And then I'll read this last one, but from Opinions No One Cares About on YouTube says, we all wanted hashtag more Tegas, and they didn't drop the ball. This one might be the best of the season. Well, opinions, I think we're in agreement. I think Terrarium was my favorite episode of season 3. But thank you and everyone else who
Poll. Close out the poll.
Oh, yeah, I should do that. But thank you, Opinions No One Cares About, and everyone else who went on the season 3 journey with us. And thanks everyone who's watching us live. Thanks everyone who watches or listens later. And especially thank all of you who give us some feedback in the subspace transmissions. It's always a lot of fun to see what our audience thinks. And the results of our poll for the live audience watching now. I have to go into a different tab for that. And then it looks like 56%, a majority, say they hate the idea of changing it. They want us to stay at 7 p.m. Central. So I guess the plan will be we will proceed at this time for now. But thanks everyone for giving me some feedback. I do appreciate that. And reminder, we'll be back next week. Dave promises to be here, so he's fired if he doesn't show up.
Dave.
he's no longer welcome back. No, I'm just kidding. But I think he'll be here.
He's in the chair if he doesn't come.
Dave named Tex-Trek. It'd be like I feel like I can't fire him. Like this whole thing is it's kind
of.
No,
we won't fire him. We'll just be very cross for a few weeks.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to talking about Star Trek Con. I don't want to come off as like a Strange New World Season 3 hater. There was a lot I liked in Season 3, but to be honest, it was probably my least favorite season of Star Trek since Season 2 of Picard way back in 2022. But the first episode of Star Trek Con is my favorite piece of Star Trek we've gotten like all year this year, like which is just Section 31 and then this season of Strange New Worlds. But I'm really digging Con. I really hope that the remaining seasons are just as good as episode 1. And I'm very looking forward to discussing that with Dave and sharing our thoughts with our audience in 1 week. So please, even though Strange New Worlds is over, please keep following us, keep coming back. We have plenty more Star Trek to talk about. And eventually we'll be talking about Starfleet Academy Season 1. So that'll...
Not that far away.
Yeah, so we're almost in 2026. But that will be it for Strange New Worlds for now. And until next time, as always, live long and prosper, y'all.
Subscribe to YouTube to watch the Tex-Trek podcast live or listen to us later on your favorite podcast platform. Follow Stephen Fothery on socials at TXTrek. Thank you and take care.